Hello everyone. I would like to have your attention regarding the coronavirus. Everybody knows about it, and I've just did a quick diagram, but I'll show you other viruses as well from books. I'm using through books. One of them is called Advanced Biology by J. Simpkins and J. I. Williams, and another one, Less Biology Revised AS, written by examiners. Right, so there are a few demands that I would like to say to the Chinese government and other powerful organizations in the world. Demand number one, and this is on behalf of the vulnerable people like asthmatic and diabetic and people who have heart diseases and cancer and other serious conditions that affects their health. We cannot accept any more secrecy in the Wuhan labs and other cities. We want regular inspectors from 5 to 10 independent countries. So these countries, they should go to Russia, China, Iran and Syria to inspect all their biological and chemical labs. Number two, demand number two, is that we know that many kinds of coronaviruses came out of China and in the past, in the last 15 years or 17 years, and one out of Saudi Arabia. So, and some of these handful coronaviruses have affected humans. Now, I would like to draw your attention to something very serious here. Bashar and his father always buy biological chemical weapons. Biological and chemical weapons from China and North Korea and Russia. And all these are backed and supported by China. So we want everyone to go to these labs in Syria, in places like Safita, Misyaf, Mazzi Airport, and Dawar al-Saraya, and Bashar's palaces, and Iranian labs in Syria as well, to check and inspect and make sure that they're not spreading viruses in Syria. Number three, the global economy has to be put as a priority and the health of citizens of the world as number one, instead of profit or interest of dictators. Because some of these dictators, whether in China or in Russia or Iran or in Syria, they are involved in making viruses, like sort of mixing chromosomes, and help them to like get married and they produce new viruses. And after that, they work with companies that make the cure. Number four, we want artificial intelligent robots to monitor hospitals and labs with the humans, so humans can walk with the robots. And so as soon as something goes wrong and happens, you know, in those hospitals and labs, we want the robots to inform Google and Facebook and others about outbreaks before it spreads to any other cities or countries. And we want these robots to connect to World Health Organization and other organizations. And no one should be allowed to ban doctors or nurses from telling the truth. Okay? So these are very important points before I go into details, because some of you they might feel that they want to get a quick message and they're not interested in the more sort of the details that I'll mention. Now, through these books, I'll just briefly show you that every one of us can easily have access to this information about viruses. And it tells you in these books how in the 80s some of them were spreading in many different countries. And here are some of the diagrams. This is a very important diagram. Please have a look at it, about the cycle of viruses. Now this one here, when I mentioned about making the chromosomes of two different viruses, like one is fast and another one which is deadly, so they put them together and they allow the chromosomes to join and like get married, and then they produce a new virus in the Chinese labs and the Syrian labs and the Iranian labs and all these other ones. So really, the information about viruses and how they are manufactured and how they spread, it's explained in so many different books, primary, secondary, and A-level, and baccalaureate, and you name it. Now, the thing is about the new coronavirus, some of you might know and some of you might not. We want to make the Chinese government responsible for the mishandling of this new virus, because many of the bureaucrats in that government, they delayed explaining how this virus is spreading. And also, they did not allow the doctors to explain to their colleagues about it. And this is, we're talking about the 7th of December. And the Chinese government closed the market of Wuhan on the 23rd of January and made like some kind of a lockdown on the market and the Wuhan city on the 23rd of January. So imagine from the 7th of December till the 23rd of January, how many people have left Wuhan through the airports. Some estimation is about 5 million Chinese people traveled from Wuhan to the rest of China and the rest of the world. So if out of these 5 million, let's say 10,000, 20,000 or 100,000 or 200,000 people were carrying this virus or infected, so imagine the pandemic that's going to happen. Right, so now I just want to move quickly to the history of viruses and how they spread. Now, as we have international travel, jet travel, so where people and the diseases they carry can be in any city on the planet in a matter of hours. I repeat, once somebody is sneezing at an airport and he carries the virus and he travels, all these other people with him on that airplane who travel or sitting in the hall in the airport can carry that disease and spread it to 29 countries. So one sneeze as well from a boy at school, when that person arrives with his father, for example, with his parent, when he arrives at his country and he goes to school, so one sneeze from a boy at school, the infection can spread throughout the community. So when they go global, these viruses, we call them pandemics. And that's what's happening now. It's about 29 countries affected by this virus. And like the HIV, measles, and influenza, they have been going, around the world for 30 years or more. Now, one thing important to remember is that every 20 years, the virus goes through a dramatic mutation. When wild flu, and this is an example, like when wild flu virus is circulating in ducks and farm poultry, meets a pig virus, and these exchange genes, this process is known as antigenic shift. All right, so I'll go back to the books here. All right, so some kind of antigenic shift occurs. All right, and that would happen to some of the viruses in the past 15 years. So it has occurred throughout human history as well. Briefly, just check the history of viruses from 1580, please. So 1580. 1580 is the first recorded pandemic. I repeat, 1580 is the first recorded pandemic. Then 6 ones happened. 6 further pandemic happened. I'll tell you the dates and you can check.